Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is JJ Asgar, and I'm a developer advocate for IBM Cloud. Today, we have a great opportunity to learn some really neat web development and work around the way that technology that we all use, whether we are starting or still senior like me, or I guess senior in the sense of graybeard. I don't know, whatever. Um, but we get to play some Ngrok today, and I got a great friend of mine, Danger, coming. Where are you, Danger? You there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing today?
Good, man. From what I understand, you work at a little company called Ngrok, but you live in the forest. Is that
Yeah,
something? Is that right? Where are we
yes.
going with this?
I live in the woods. You know that running, maybe it's not a gag. You know that intent that every
Yeah.
developer has at some point where you say, forget this. I'm gonna toss my computer out the window and go live in the trees. Well, last year I decided to do that. So I lived in South Austin, not far from you guys. And I went ahead and sold our house and we moved out to 20 acres in the woods. And it's a blast. So I call it homesteading, but in the 21st century. So I have a Roomba, I have Starlink. At the same time, I have a gigantic garden and chickens.
Nice. So tell me, are your chicken eggs orange yet? Is that right? Like the better the chicken, like if they like flock around, they're orange. The
Yeah,
egg yolk.
the yolks get bright orange. So
Yeah.
ours are not layers yet. It's still going to be a few months till they're ready to do that. But we
Okay.
got a bunch of eggs from some friends a couple nights ago, and they're bright orange. Like it's disturbing how orange they are. It's just like
Yeah.
I'm like that. This shouldn't be a color in my food, but
Yeah.
no, it worked out well. So we're excited. We're
Nice.
having fun.
The only thing I know that's the only trivia I know about, about chickens, but also those yolks, being that they're that colored, they're supposed to be phenomenal for you, like actual like health wise. So I am jealous. I am
Yeah,
jealous.
it's a blast. It's funny. Our chicken coop is about 400 square feet, so
Wow.
it's the size of a San Francisco studio apartment, um, and it's fantastic because my wife called it the chicken Taj Mahal, but
Nice.
based on how secure it is, I was like maybe it's chicken Leavenworth,
Ah,
but since we're not trying to just keep chickens in, we're trying to keep things out. We're calling it Chicken Cheyenne Mountain. So we figured
nice.
that's kind of a good balance of things. So you can
I
tell how
like it.
seriously we take this.
Absolutely. Well, do you have a Stargate at the bottom too? I mean, what?
We were not cleared for that information.
Nice, nice, nice.
So yeah.
It's JJ with two J's. Two J
Okay.
with two J. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
There you
Anyway, all right. We went down the wrong path on that one.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, so Danger, tell me. I know, but our audience doesn't might not know. Tell me about Ngrok in a short, easy kind of bite-sized conversation.
Yeah, sure. The shortest way to look at Ngrok is it's the fastest way to get online in one line. So we are a tunneling service. We when you're doing any local development, normally what happens is you have to then, you finish up your development or you finish up this particular function or whatever, and you upload it to the cloud somewhere, and it takes a couple minutes to sync, and it goes through all that, maybe CI/CD processes and everything, gets deployed, and then you're able to test it. And that is a long process. In the short term, it might take a few minutes, but in that few minutes, that Slack message is going to come up, that email is going to come up. You're going to be distracted. So what Ngrok does is it lets you open your local environment to the cloud. So it gives you a quick and simple URL you can copy and paste and immediately hit things through a browser. And it's all under SSL, so you've got that secure, and then you can share it among your friends or your team in seconds instead of minutes. It's a quick and easy way to get online in one line.
Perfect. I love it. So today we get to play with some of the newer features of Ngrok, but are we going to start from the very beginning, kind of just see the beauty of it? Like I know I was a Rubyist for a long time. I went down the path of Rails, trying to understand how to run it in production environment.
Mhm.
I kind of understood it. I've rediscovered Flask and Django, and I've spent a lot of time and space in that space.
Yeah.
Like, does it matter what language that I'm using Ngrok with, or is
No,
it kind of just like the proxy that sits in front of my world?
it's the proxy that sits in front of your world. We're totally language agnostic. There are some communities that have rolled their own libraries on top of Ngrok. There's a
Ah,
PyNgrok where you can embed it directly into your install. You can install through PyPy. Believe there's one for Node. There's a couple others, but frankly, the technology itself doesn't care what you're using, doesn't care your operating system, doesn't even care your hardware. We have people running Ngrok on IoT devices now, making that IoT device accessible from the world. Yeah, that's kind of cool, isn't it?
That is cool. So in a couple ways, like if you had a bunch of like IoT, like Raspberry Pi sitting around doing like, I don't know, weather station stuff, I don't know, something like that, and you didn't want to set up a VPN for all this stuff, you could just throw Ngrok on there and know that's really clever. That's
yeah. Well, thank you. I didn't come up with it, but thank you. No, so that's actually a really common use case. We have people that are running their Minecraft servers, on their local system, and they host it with Ngrok, and they share it with their friends, and it's a really cool, easy way to be able to plug in. But yeah, we've got people that are they've got the Raspberry Pis. We have a lot of people doing things like monitoring for moisture levels or water in the basement, things like that are relatively mundane but really important. And they use us behind the scenes to keep that online and to make sure, it's accessible. And to be able to send like command and control operations into it. So there's a cloud or platform called Nextcloud for being able to do like Google Docs type stuff on your own system. We have a lot of people that are sharing that with like friends and family. So it's like a family Google Docs kind of Dropbox system. And it's a really cool, simple approach.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, so I obviously I've bought into this, right? Like,
all right. That's good to hear.
And actually, yes, I do pay for it too.
Oh, well, thank you.
So I am supporting. But yes, we've talked enough. Let's actually see some code.
Yeah, so I've got a 600 slide deck that I'm going to open up and share with you guys.
Oh, wonderful.
No, actually, for the audience, just so you know, I threatened if I came up, or JJ threatened that if I did come up with a slide deck, he would drive to my house and hunt me down. So I took his input, honestly, decide not to screw with him there.
I do it.
I'm going to screw with him other ways, though, so don't worry.
I do it for you, audience. I do it for you.
Yes. All right, so let's start with something really simple. Let's see. I'll open up Sublime over here. Let me move some windows around so I can actually see what I'm doing. All right. Okay. So we got a really nice, bare bones, simple app to be able to.
That is very small.
I'm sorry. Let me blow that up. It's funny. I did everything but this one. Let's see. Let's try that. Where'd my phone go? Okay, there we go. Let's see. I think I can do this, right? All right. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
How's
there
that?
we go. Yeah, that's so much better.
All right. Second time's a charm, right? Okay, cool. Very simple, bare bones app. All it says is it's effectively hello world. Nothing all that exciting, interesting there. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and start this. So, this is just starting Node, nothing exciting here. So we'll do, let me make sure I'm in the right window, Node. Oops.
Whoa.
What did
somebody broke the build. Somebody broke the build.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's
get blamed. Ah, son of a, it's me.
No, okay. Exciting
stuff.
LS
for me? LS for me real quick?
Yep.
You mean that lesson 1 directory?
Yep. Oh, yeah. There you go. All right. Exciting.
I get paid the big bucks.
Okay, cool. So I've got a very simple app, not doing anything exciting. And believe it or not, I do know how to use a web browser and command line and all that stuff. All right, so we've got local, I believe it's 3001. Okay, cool. So we got running on server. Not doing anything exciting yet, but this is our local environment. You can see I just started up, so kind of not smoothly, but it's there, it's running, it's live. So now we can go ahead and host this to the world. So it's really quick and simple. Do Ngrok, HTTP 80. All right, so now we're online. That's all it took to get online. I can go ahead and copy and paste this URL right here. Go back to my browser. If all goes well, it should be the exact same message. Connection refused. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wrong port.
Yeah, wrong port. This is a comedy of errors, isn't it?
This is great.
All right. So if you do this right the first time, it's online in one line. If you do it incorrectly, it's online in 2 lines or more. All right. If all goes well, cool. So you can see it's exactly the same. Nothing all that exciting. When we start at this point, it's really nice and simple. It's easy. And really, we're online now. So I could share this. I can go ahead and share this in the chat right here. I go ahead and share this in the chat right here. And you immediately have access. So anyone could go ahead and hit that URL and.
Perfect. Give me a second here. I will grab it and move it over.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, anyone can hit that URL, and it's boring. It's exactly what we wanted to see. But here's a cool thing. I'll go ahead and open this up behind the scenes. And we'll be able to start seeing the request as it comes in.
There we go.
So yeah, we're getting a little bit of traffic, a few people hitting here and there. That's awesome. Quick, simple, nothing all that exciting at this point. So let's make it a little more interesting. Let's see. We've got a couple cool things.
Wait, why is there some 304s? Sorry, go back real quick. Did you see that? There was we missed it. Oh, there was some
actually. Yeah, so there are 304s. That's a good question. We'll have to check it out. When I restart next time, we'll check it out and we'll see what happens. So here's the fun thing. You'll notice that this URL is not the same as the URL that everyone is just hitting. Everyone hitting that now to get a tunnel not found, because every time Ngrok starts, it starts a new tunnel. So the nice thing about that is that if you launch something, if you're just trying it out and everything, and you share that URL around, or you accidentally tweet it or put it in a GitHub repo or whatever, you don't have to worry about things too much. Like it's going to disappear here shortly as soon as you start or kill it off and start it again. So that's a good side. The downside is it's really hard to map things to it because it's changing all the time. So we'll actually attack that in just a second. But before that, let's go ahead and do one other thing. So right now I've shared this with the world. Everyone had access. Let's lock it down a little bit. Let's be a little smarter about what we're doing. We have a auth. Let's put basic auth. There's just HTTP basic auth, nothing all that exciting. We'll put JJ rocks.
Yay.
All right. Oh, it didn't like that.
Between 8 characters.
8 characters. So I'm sorry.
Really rocks. Really rocks.
JJ really rocks. All right. I think I'm getting a biased answer to that one. Okay, cool. So now I'll take that URL, which is a new one here, copy and paste that into the chat here. I'll pop open my browser like we had here. And now we've got a username and password. So JJ really rocks. And look, we're in just like before.
Nice.
So we're able to add basic auth. The longest part of that command is actually the password of really rocks. There's some debate about how much he rocks, but we're not going to address that right now. But it's a quick and simple way to be able to play with things and see what you can do. But you know what? We already hit the annoying thing. This URL always changing is kind of a pain in the butt. We really want to be able to make something consistent and predictable. So let's go back and let's address this one. So on our all of our paid accounts, we can go ahead and we could put something static in place. So there's 2 levels here. We can go with a basic subdomain and make the subdomain, like make that fixed, or we can go ahead and we could put a full custom domain on top of it with a CNAME. So we have a lot of enterprises that want to do that because they want to see IBM.ngrok, or not, I'm sorry, they want to see tunnel.ibm.com, something along those lines, make sure that things are locked down and, everything's under the same SSL cert, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and add a subdomain, and we'll make this one really simple. JJ rocks.
Yay.
All right. Let me make this a little bit different here. Oh,
2 dashes per dash.
Yep. All right. Okay, so now that's up, that's online. And now anytime you hit jjrocks.ngrok.io, drop that in the chat again before I even test it, because that's how I live. All right, JJ, and the password is really rocks. Cool, now we're online.
Nice.
So the fun thing about that is that now every time we do something, if we add that subdomain flag in there, we're going to have that exact same path. So we don't have to figure out what it is each time. So for those scenarios I talked about earlier of the Raspberry Pi or the Minecraft server or whatever, doing something like this really makes things tangibly easier for everyone. Things are nice and predictable.
And
So,
two things that popped up here. First, the JJ Rocks is already SSL'd, which is pretty cool.
yes.
I got to admit that. That's straight off the bat. But someone did notice though that when it was the big weird hash one, Chrome said it was a dangerous website. Is that expected?
Yeah, it's not. It's expected sometimes. It's not appreciated. So one of the fun things about this, and I'm going to toot our own horn a little bit here. We're super easy to get started with. It doesn't take a lot of skill or understanding to be able to use Ngrok to host something online. So while that comes with great power, it also comes with great responsibility. We have a number of their phishing tools on GitHub and things like that actually embed Ngrok, which it's not an honor at all. It's really kind of frustrating. But what happens is that various abusers use it for a backbone of their operations. Now, we do have a number of things that we're counteracting with that. We don't allow people to just anonymously host tunnels. We make sure that everyone is registered. We do some content monitoring to be able to detect different patterns. We go ahead and we keep an eye on different URL patterns. We do a variety of things to block abusers as quickly as possible. And actually, one of the cool things we have is we have an API endpoint for submitting abuse reports. So there's a number of researchers and organizations we work with that if they find a bad URL that's hosted by Ngrok, one, we don't want it, obviously. So they have a quick and easy way to be able to hit us with a single HTTP request and block that tunnel immediately.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah, so we're working at being good citizens. We're the attackers, the abusers are always innovating. They're always getting more creative, but we're doing our best and working with great friends and allies to be able to protect that. So yeah, unfortunately, as a result of all that, to actually answer your original question, Chrome decides that sometimes ngrok.io URL is bad because some portion of them have been bad. We're always working and cleaning that up. That's why for commercial use cases, we always recommend just changing this URL. And having, tunnel.ibm.com or whatever, be able to make sure that's locked down.
But by the way, you see those HTTP requests? That's pretty clever.
I know, I see it.
That's clever. Whoever that is.
Yeah, somebody's sending on messages. I appreciate everyone keeping it G-rated, though.
That's true.
Now that I said that, of course, it's going to go to crap. But,
hey,
it's fun. So, well, actually, on that note, because I don't trust him, you guys, let's get a little more creative here. Let's see.
Hey, Danger. Well, sorry, Danger. Rational WP says thank you so much for that explanation about the unsecured sites. That's just want to say thank you for that. And being transparent and being truly transparent. That's really important. That truly is.
Yeah, actually, on the transparency front, Trend Micro, great security firm, great research firm, actually just released a report this morning that talked about bad actors using cloud tunneling services to do things like that, to do abusive, malicious links and stuff like that. In their research, they found that about 99% of the malicious attackers out there are using Ngrok, which is oh man, it's a thing we want to celebrate because it's so easy to use, but it's a thing we just want to condemn because it's like, guys, don't do that. But they're great to work with. They shared a bunch of their data with us, showed us what they were seeing. We'd already taken some mitigation steps, but there's always more to take. So that's the kind of fun things that we're working on. Let's see. So, like I said, trusts, mitigation of risk, and all those things are important things to do. So I'm going to tackle a little bit of that now. Let's go ahead and JJ, I'm dropping a link for you. If you could go ahead and hit that link and give me your IP address.
All right. 70. Or here, I'll put it in the chat.
Yes,
probably a better idea.
All right.
Oh, hey, I trust the internet. No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't trust the internet either. I live on the internet. All right, let's go ahead and go back to my previous one. Let's say basic auth is not good enough. Basic auth is not going to work for us. It's frankly, it's everyone under one username and one password, so it's just not good. So in this case, let's go ahead and lock things down a little bit differently. Let's add CIDR. CIDR is classless internet domain routing, I believe is the abbreviation. Basically, IP addresses.
Yeah.
So
we should actually, on another window, do you want to turn mine into a string and then just bring in the string in this one instead of give it out to the world?
Oh, yep. Sorry.
No worries. See, I hit the button.
Thank you.
Yeah. We should at least fake trying to be secure, right?
All right. Go ahead and you can unlock that.
All right.
All right, cool. So I went ahead and used JJ's IP address and opened that up to the world. Now, what's cool though is that anyone that hits this JJ Rocks URL now is not going to get any results. It's going to be locked down. But JJ, if you go ahead and hit it, you should go ahead and have access. There you go.
Yeah, I'm seeing app runner running on server one on this
absolutely side. Whereas if you're looking at my screen here, you can see we're blocked. So it's a real quick and easy way to be able to lock things down and be able to say, you know what, I don't want the world to have access to this. I want this one particular IP address. So I mentioned the command and control operations like Minecraft and Raspberry Pis and stuff like that. That's exceptionally useful to be able to lock things down, to be able to say, you know what, I don't trust the internet as a whole. Let's lock this down to one particular IP address. If you have a static server, so think of an iOS management system, you've got one device management server sitting out there, one IP address attached to that, and you want to go ahead and make sure that the IoT device is sitting out on a customer site or sitting in that wind turbine or whatever can only get accessed by that one server. This is the way to do it. It's quick and easy. And notice we're not modifying the application here. This is all at the edge level within Ngrok. So you don't actually have to like do anything in the application itself.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't come up with any of this.
Well, kudos to your engineering team. Kudos to your engineering
team. I'm gonna go ahead and pop up your IP address again for a second if you want to hit the big red button there.
1 second. There it is.
All right. Let me go ahead and clear this, but I want to show. All right, if you can go ahead and remove that. Okay, so this is not JJ's IP address, but I just want to be able to show the actual command that we're using here. So it's real quick and simple. So we can go ahead and we can lock it down this way. We could be as specific as we wanted to. We could go ahead and allow anything we want to go through that. So it doesn't take much to be able to add IP allow lists to this on top of everything else. But let's go ahead and take it to a different level. Let's say we do need to make sure that more people have access to this, but we don't necessarily want everyone to have access. So if I started it like this, excuse me, everyone in the world that had this subdomain that had jjrocks.ngrok.io could hit this site and access it. Let's put a little bit of protection in place. Let's do something. I spent 5 years at Okta. I was doing identity and access management. My particular product was API access management. It's effectively Oauth as a service. It's a really fun thing doing API security. So let's think about Oauth. JJ, have you ever implemented Oauth?
I've tried a couple times and decided to drink a beer instead.
Yeah, it was a fun, wonderful experience, right? That you celebrate and you love. No. Okay. All right. Well, I'm assuming most of the other people in the group here have not or have implemented Oauth or at least played with Oauth and know how miserable it is. So one of the things we did is we made Oauth one line.
No.
So you could do Oauth equals Google. Okay, so this is a very complicated command. You specify an Oauth provider. Now I'm going to hit enter. Okay, cool. Now anyone can get this. Go ahead and hit your URL that you had up before. I'm going to go ahead and hit it again here. And if all goes well, I'm redirected to Google.
That's brilliant.
Click this, and now I'm signed in. So Yeah, exactly. So here,
Oh, okay. Hold up.
yeah,
I gotta jump in here. So
yeah,
we all opt against Google, so we know they have a Google account. Can I
yeah.
take that now and like play with the permissions off of that Google account, or like having OAuth? Don't get me wrong, that's awesome. But
Hmm.
now would I have to edit my application to take advantage of this farther instead of just
Yes,
like a gatekeeper?
yes. So if this would let you put OAuth in front of it so that you can make sure that people are logged in with a particular identity provider. If we
Okay.
wanted to then use that information, like from the access token of like, here's the username or here's their email address, we would have to modify the application to be able to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the cool thing is, like, let's say you've got that legacy application, and you need to put it under an identity provider. You need to put Okta in front of it, and you're trying to figure out, okay, how in the world do I do that? One of my buddies at Ngrok was an old school AS400 guy. Updating AS400 comes with challenges. It's a incredibly powerful platform that most people don't understand at this point. This one command will let you put OAuth in front of it in, what was that, 8 characters, maybe
Yep.
10. That's really what we're trying to do. We really want to make this simple. One is that when Alan started Ngrok way back in the day, when he was still at Twilio, in fact, one of the things he wanted to do is he wanted to empower developers to simplify building all this stuff, to simplify building for the internet. To get into his story just a little bit, he was an early developer at Twilio. I was number 25, and he was there before that. So I don't know. He was like 5 or 10. And I assume you've heard of Twilio. I assume most of the
Yes.
audience here has heard of Twilio. It's a thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. They do something with text messages and phones. I don't know anymore. But one of the things that he was working on was sending out a text message, getting that webhook back, and responding to it, interacting with it. And so one of the things he was really frustrated with is sending a text message, waiting for it to go out to the cloud, waiting for it to go to Twilio, waiting for it to come back and hit his application was a huge delay. And just like deploying to the cloud was a delay, this was another delay on top of it. So he built Ngrok really to open up his local development environment to do that, to make those requests, to make it simple and not have to do that deploy step. But then he took it another step, and I'm actually going to step back one step here. We'll just go back to the simple subdomain. So what's cool is that we've been grabbing this forwarding URL. Quick and simple and easy. I haven't pointed out that there's a web-face URL too. So if a few people could go ahead and hit the JJ Rocks URL for me, just so we see some requests up here. All right, there's one. Couple more people, that'd be awesome. All right, got some more. All right, so now I'm going to grab this URL, which we haven't grabbed before, and check this out. These are all the requests that have come in. Oh, and there's another one. So if somebody could go ahead and add something creative to the URL, please G-rated. We can go ahead and we can see that pop in pretty quickly. Here, I'll do one. Cannot get that, but there it is. Keith smells. Keith is cool. Wow, thanks, guys. I appreciate all of you a little bit. But what's cool here is we can go ahead and we can open up any of these, and we can see what the response was. We can see what the request headers were. We can see the raw form of them. We can see the binary of it. We can go ahead and we can poke around with all this. We can hit the summary, and then we could do the same thing on the response. So there's exactly what went back. There's the headers. There's the raw forms. So when you're debugging this stuff, this is super useful because you could say, I'm getting this webhook request in. I don't know what in the world is going on. I'm not, my app is not responding the way I expect it to. You can pop in here and go, okay, well, here's what's actually coming in, and here's what's going out.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, to get back to what Alan had with the webhooks, one of the most annoying things about webhooks is you have to wait for them. Unless you add this little button over here, replay. So this takes this exact request, Keith smells, because you guys are so kind to me. I appreciate it. And we can replay this over and over again. And this is going to go ahead and make the same request back to our application.
Yeah, because it's a proxy. Like it's already sitting there. Why not just send it again? That's true. Yep.
Yeah. So the cool thing about this is that when you're like, you send that text message, you get the webhook in from Twilio. This will capture it, and then you can just hit replay over and over again. So now the latency of deploying things to the cloud, of waiting for that webhook, of sending that text message, all of it is gone.
Yeah.
And so now your testing cycles are like 5 seconds.
Yep.
And we can even get more fun here, and we could say replay with modifications. So I could go ahead and I could change all this. I could add additional headers. I could remove additional headers. I could do whatever I want. I just replay, and it'd go right back into my application and show how it's working.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So, and this is the kind of things that Alan, when he originally dreamt this stuff up, he really wanted to. Oh, thank you. It's get awesome. When Alan originally dreamt this up in the earliest days, he really wanted he wanted to get more things done more easily. He wanted to make things simpler for himself. So it started off as this very simple proxy. And then this replay button came about, and then replay with modifications. And it's kind of grown from there. So adding OAuth to all this is just kind of the natural progression of how things got built up and what developers struggle with. One other thing, I'm not going to show it here, but in our docs page, there's actually SAML too.
Nice.
So you can actually go ahead and you can use SAML out of the box with Ngrok. And I'm not that brave, so I'm not going to do. This is all things that are built into the system by default. So it's quick and cool way to go about it.
That's awesome.
But let's go ahead and lock things down further, because you know what? I don't trust anyone that has a Google account, because there's like 4 billion of those floating around. So let's see. OAuth equals Google. Let's go ahead and lock it down a little bit differently. And this one, I do need to check some of my notes, because this gets crazy. There we go. All right. So now I'm going to lock things down, and I'll say OAuth by itself isn't good enough. So let's say OAuth. Turns out I have to spell things correctly. Email domain equals ngrok.com. So now this isn't just people using Ngrok. This is people, or I'm sorry, not just people with a Google identity. They have to have an Ngrok identity on top of that. Email domain. I thought that was it. Uh-oh. Well, luckily we've got good doc help. Listing that command. Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and pop over to the docs itself. So this is our doc site. So under OAuth here, you've got here the OAuth providers currently supported. There's a handful that are coming in our shortlist next. So if you want to use, you've got that out of the box. And now, let's see, email. OAuth email.
We got a question here.
Yeah.
Can you specify multiple providers for OAuth?
Not at this point. Once you start specifying multiple providers, this is putting on my old Okta hat for a second. I have one over there, but once you start specifying multiple providers, you very quickly run into the situation of setting up an order of precedence and setting up like an order of priority. And so you need to think about how these things are approached, and it ends up being a much more complicated situation than what you initially expected. So no, we don't allow multiple right now. We're looking at how to do that. It ends up being a complicated rules engine in some ways. So we're being very careful and very gentle about that. Let's see. I'm trying to figure a command here. Hold on a second. Oh, there we go. Gotcha. Gotta love the dead air, right?
Oh yeah, it's fun times, but that's part of the fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oauth email domain. No, that one says it's the same thing. Okay, I'm going to skip over that, maybe come back to that. Instead, I'm going to allow a particular email. So let's see. Allow email. So I can allow a specific email. So keith@ngrok.com is my email. So now when I log in, and everyone can go ahead and hit that URL again if you want. Now everyone's still going to be hit with the Google login prompt, just as you'd expect. And when I click it, I should get in, and no one else should.
SSO error.
Uh-oh. What did it say?
No, SSO error. Email is not authorized by use by this account. It's
there
exactly
you go.
What we're hoping for. Yep.
There you go. So if we combine that with the last command that I couldn't get working, we could say, look, let's open this up to just Ngrok users. We can make sure that they've come in through an identity provider we trust, that they have that that they've got a particular email domain that we trust, and then we can lock it down. In addition, we can go the other way, and then once we do that, we could say, we're going to allow Ngrok domains. In addition, we're going to allow these individual users from other domains. So we can be as fine-grained as we want. So a lot of scenarios we have is, if you're a consultancy and you're building out a web app for a customer and you say, okay, well, we've launched this. It's a WordPress site running on my local machine. I want to share this with my team. So you can allow that entire domain, but then I want to share this with the customer too. And you can allow specific emails from that customer. So it's a very fine-grained approach. At the same time, it's super powerful. And like, this is the extent of the commands that it takes.
That's awesome.
Couple things I want to call out here. Let's see if I could do it this time. Yeah. So here's one cool thing. Let me shrink this just a little bit so it's easier to read. When we built Ngrok, when Alan originally dreamt up Ngrok, he knew that it had to be a key part of the infrastructure. It had to work out of the box, had to have APIs and command line interfaces. So we've been on the command line for everything so far. We can actually go ahead and there's an API behind the scenes. So literally everything that we've done so far is also configurable by the API. And we can actually go ahead and say Ngrok API tunnels, and then we can list off the tunnels. So this is a list of every tunnel that I have running right now. And we could go ahead and we could list them. I can get the IDs of a specific one. So let's see. Let's Ngrok API tunnels get, and then that particular ID, and it gets all the ID of that. So this becomes particularly useful. So if you have a scenario where maybe you need to update a URL or update a webhook as you're building this stuff, you could actually embed this into your CI/CD pipeline so that when the tunnel gets started, you can then ping Ngrok tunnel itself and say, hey, which tunnels do you have? There's the ID. Okay, there's the public URL for that. Now let's go ahead and update a webhook on the Twilio side of things with that public tunnel.
Wow, that's clever. That's really clever.
Yeah, so we really want to script the crap out of this to make sure that it's super flexible. And in fact, here's one fun thing. Let's see, I believe it's completion. So I've been doing this the hard way so far. We actually have command completion built in the Ngrok itself. So you could just do, let's see, I believe the command is Ngrok completion. There you go. And it's loaded tab completion into everything that we're doing now. Wow. So these are all lots of little bells and whistles that like nobody really knows about, because people know us of that quick and easy line of, Ngrok HTTP 3001. Yep. They know that. And realistically, that's awesome. That's great. That's a great place to start. But realistically, we want to be able to show people all this other crazy stuff because frankly, it's fun. And actually, one other thing. Sorry, do you have a question?
Oh no, I was going to say, like, I was going to parrot that, saying that all these bells and whistles are stuff that people recreate by hand.
Oh yeah.
When they get to that point, and to see that it's actually already built into Ngrok will only just allow them to focus on writing software instead of dealing with all this dumb stuff that you have to like start messing with tokens and things like that, where you can just like, no, script it out, let Ngrok take care of it, and you focus on what actually brings value to your business.
Exactly. Like having to do all this stuff yourself, or thinking, hey, I might have to do all this stuff yourself, is just irritating. And Alan's original vision, like I said, was to get his hands back on the keyboard. That's where he wanted to spend his time. He didn't want to have to move his hand, click this, pull out his phone, send a text message, all this crap that got in the way. He really wanted to be able to focus on that. And so he was early on, that was his vision, and he's recruited a great group of people. We're up to 30 couple people now that all have a very same focused vision of like, let's build something that developers love that make their lives easier. That's awesome. All it boils down to.
That's awesome. That really is.
But to take my hands off the keyboard for a minute, I'm going to pop over to ngrok.com itself. Let's see, here we go.
While you're doing that, Danger, I do want to say to our audience, we have a handful of people watching. If you have any questions or thoughts, please throw them in the chat. We have no problem with answering those things as they pop up too. I haven't actually said that yet, and we're already 40 minutes in. So I want to make sure that if you do have questions, please don't hesitate.
Yeah, absolutely. And couple things is a bunch of the stuff we just rolled out 2 weeks ago on Wednesday the 13th. It's been a blast rolling this stuff out. That's why if you hit the site now, you'll see this big announcement up top from Alan where he talks about the next generation of Ngrok and laying out a bunch of this stuff. So if you've seen any of these commands and you're wondering, hey, how in the world do I do that? Like, Alan's a developer's developer. Like we put all this together specifically to allow this to be as quick and simple as possible. And in fact, the first command he starts with is that Ngrok completion, because frankly, we all want that, right?
Yep.
Let's see. I will pop over here. I want to show you the dashboard a little bit. So everything I've done so far, I've poked around with, we could actually do that from the dashboard itself too. So we could start up individual agents. We could go ahead, we could add SSH keys, we could add auth tokens. We could set up events. So events, just like webhooks and any other system, events are telling you, here are things that are going on within your Ngrok install. So we could go ahead and we could say, let's go ahead and set up a new event to watch for. And here's where to send it for. So we work with a lot of big name IT companies, big name security companies, think Fortune 50, Fortune 500 types. And they want to know that when Ngrok's running on their system, what's going on with it. Mm-hmm. So we've got events coming out of this, and then you can pipe it into a SIM, a security operations system, to be able to say, like CloudWatch, Kinesis, something like that, to be able to say, hey, every time somebody changes an IP policy, let us know. You know, every time somebody goes ahead and opens a new tunnel, tell us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it's really good observability across the board.
Nice.
Let's see. And so then the IP policies, generally what we would do, you can see some of my colleagues here, generally what we do is when I started that IP policy from the command line itself, that was very ephemeral. So, you know, the second I hit Control-C and broke that process, it stopped. It was no longer in effect. So every time I want that policy again, I have to start it with that command line, that command switch again. With this approach, what we could do is we can go ahead and we could do this via API or the dashboard. We can go ahead and build up IP policies. We can pull all those things together, and then we come over to Cloud Edge here, and then we create an edge, and we can mix and match all those components together to build the exact line we want. And then when we run that command, instead of just running it with all those switches, we could say, you know what? Forget those switches, run it with this edge ID, which is a conglomeration of everything behind the scenes.
Wow. That's
so
clever.
My mindset is always start with this, start in the command line, dork around, figure out, tune, optimize, whatever. Once you have this set, then either via the API or via the web interface, come in and like stamp it and say, this is the good configuration, and then just work for everything.
That's awesome. That's really great. Like that makes my security people so much happier.
Yeah, that's the other fun thing is we can go ahead and now this can be auditable. Mm-hmm. So anyone go ahead and look at one of these tunnels. So I'm going to open up this one, And somebody could walk through and look at this and say, okay, well, we don't have IP restrictions right now. We don't have OAuth. Okay, this is a problem. JJ, you need to add these things. And now, as long as you're still using that edge ID to start your tunnels, as this edge changes, as your security posture changes, your tunnel itself is going to change over time.
Is the edge ID, is that a environmental variable, or how do you start that on the command line?
It is, let's see. Yeah, so it's an ID that comes out of, let's see. Oh yeah, so this is the, is it the selector?
I guess where I was going with this is if it was like an environmental variable, I was thinking of like you could throw it in everyone's bash RC or whatever as a security policy to make sure that whenever you start an Ngrok as a development server, like security homeboy is happy because he knows that everybody uses this one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good approach. And so, yeah, here's the edge ID itself. And actually we have a number of high-end customers that completely block ngrok.io domains. And what they do instead is they set up the individual agents, like the agent sitting on my machine, they set that to hit tunnel.company.com. And so it's what we call custom ingress. And so they block Ngrok traffic and only allow things in through their blast paths, their specific named tunnel. And then they put those policies on that tunnel itself. So when you're managing an IT shop and you want to be able to make sure that all developers are following the exact same things, you can say, look, personal Ngrok accounts are not allowed. Everything has to be under your company email address, and everything has to connect through our domain that we know we have the right security safeguards in place.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the high level. We can also like get back into the nuts and bolts. We can do things with the headers themselves. Let's see, where'd my notes go? Here we go. Cool. So we can go ahead and we can do Ngrok HTTP 3001. Actually, let's.
You aliased end Ngrok, didn't you?
No, I did not. But that idea should probably get to that at some point, because that'd probably save me some typos, huh?
Yep, happens. I mean, it's like K to Coop Cuddle, right? Like you just end up doing it. You just end up doing it.
Yeah, I tend to work for uniquely named companies, Twilio, Okta, Ngrok. So yeah, aliasing some of those characters would be useful.
Well, no joke. This is the one that is so obvious that it took me years to learn to do was V to Vim. Like you'd be amazed on how many times you type out Vim during the day, and then you're just like, no, why am I typing this out? It should just, like, what else am I going to type with the letter V? Not many things. Yeah.
Policy self. So in addition to everything we did before, we can go ahead and we can add custom headers. We can remove headers. So we see people doing this when they want to hide what stack or the versions of the stack that they're running on and be able to filter that out. So it's a quick and easy way of being able to put that in the pipeline itself. And if we combine that with the last step of the edge, so that's globally available to all tunnels that run for your org, you can really have a really fine-grained control over what actually gets out of your organization and is broadcast to the world.
Nice. Can you run that command one more time and then show us the header in the web interface just so we can see,
absolutely.
See it in there? Because, like if I hit it a couple times now, right, we won't see that. Well, we will see the header. When would we see that header?
Let's see. That was on the response, right?
Yeah.
Response header add.
So that would be going back.
Yes. So I don't believe it'd be captured on our side here.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Because this is the default. This is what's coming into the proxy, not what's going back out.
Yep. Okay, cool. I'm with you now.
But if you made a request with, well, here, let me do it this way. Curl-I. Grab the actual URL here. There you go.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We really want to make this as inflexible as possible. And once again, like the adding and removing headers, that's all part of the API also. So we've got an API, we got command line interface, we've got Terraform configuration to make sure that, you know, whatever you need to do, there's something there to help you with it.
Nice. Wait, hold on. You said there's Terraform plugins for this thing too?
Yes.
Show me that. That tickles my fancy.
I actually don't know the URL for that off the top of my head, but sneakily enough, it's Terraform provider -Ngrok. So yeah, this is all available in our repository. And you can see this is for the new version of it. So we've got everything available here. And you can go ahead and get stood up with your a template of your Ngrok configuration out of the box.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so there's lots of little pieces behind the scenes. Like when you stop and think about what the magic that's happening here is that I'm creating a URL on the fly. That URL is going into our DNS. It's being distributed obviously very quickly. In addition, we're adding SSL on top of it. So we handle all that for you. And you don't have to think about any of that. It's what you said earlier. If you're not distracted with all the dumb stuff, you can really focus on what you need to do. At Okta, my tagline for developers is always, developers have two goals in life: build something useful and go home.
Yep.
And anything you do to get in the way of those, you should stop. And anything you can do to speed those up, you should double down on. And Alan and the rest of the team, that's really been the vision of this, really day one, of how can we help developers do more faster and securely? Because if they're not doing it securely, just stop doing it. That's not the world we live in. We're not safe enough to do stuff like that.
That's great. This is awesome.
I did want to share one more command with you. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour. This is one of my favorites. So if you could go ahead and, let's see. Oh, I need to go up one fold. All right. If all goes well here. All right, cool. So if everyone could go and hit that JJ Ross URL one more time, you can see what's going on behind the scenes there. Yeah.
Clever.
For people catching this later on. It's a little sluggish, but there you go.
Yeah.
But
clever.
On a serious note, there you go. It's starting to see some traffic on it though. On a serious note, here's the actual command I ran. Let me try this again. Here's the command I ran for that. And notice this one is not specifying a port. This is not connecting to the application I had before. This just turned my local system into a file server.
Oh, neat. So
if we actually open this up, let's see. I believe this is in lesson 2 here. I mean, this is just straight up HTML. So I turned this into a very simple file server just to get rolling with it, just to show how you could get started with it.
Nice.
So Ngrok is really, like, most of the people know us as an HTTP proxy, and we are. But you can also use this as a file server. You can use this as a TCP proxy. You can do a lot of things behind the scenes. We have customers that are using us to front their databases because, especially like in a no-code, low-code application, that application is only as valuable as the data it has access to. And so they're using us behind the scenes to open up that database to that no-code, low-code option to be able to make that data available in the system.
Nice.
So yeah, other than that, we haven't been up anything. We've just been hanging out.
Oh, that's good. That's so good. Oh, goodness. Danger, this is great, man. Like, legit. This whole walkthrough, I learned, I walked in knowing Ngrok is something I've been using since I can remember. And I did not see little bits and pieces here of the stuff that I'm doing, like I'm going to be using it more because it's going to make my life so much easier. It truly is.
Awesome. That's our goal, to make, if we make life easier, that's a win for us. And if you hit ngrok.com, if you go ahead and hit this down below, you can copy and paste any of these commands to run them.
Nice.
So when I said online and one line at the very beginning, I wasn't joking. There are things like we can verify webhooks that are incoming from different providers. You can go ahead and you can do the IP addresses. You can do all this stuff out of the box. And frankly, we just want to make web development more secure. We want to let people do powerful things simply. Some more complicated things I didn't show out of the box is once you configure things in the cloud and you set it up as that edge and you start tunnels with that edge, you can actually set up load balancing. So you can have 2 or 3 different application servers run the same edge for each of those. And whenever that edge connects, when you start that ngrok command with the edge ID, it'll go ahead and round robin those servers across and load balance across all of them. There's nothing else you need to do to get load balancing set up. In fact, then we can do circuit breaking on top of that. So if something goes offline and you're not expecting it, we can go ahead and kill that connection and let it reset on its own to be able to make sure that things come back to a good state.
Wow. Y'all really have thought about this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that with Istio right now.
Yeah. Good luck with that. And in fact, because let's see, I believe we have it set up. Anyone that goes ahead and signs up now in Ngrok, you can go ahead and if you read this blog post, there's a link down here. It talks about our launch party. I forget where it is. Launch. There you go. Join our launch. So if you go ahead and you click through on this, this will give you free access to absolutely everything through May 31st.
Nice.
So if you want to play around with it, like, please feel free. Give us feedback. We love it.
Awesome. Well, I guess I want to just open it to the floor again one more time, see if there's any questions. There is probably a little bit of delay, so we'll just have to sit here and wait. Other than that, I mean, giving out free stuff at the end of the stream is pretty. Can't go back. Can't go higher than that one. So should probably kind of end it there. But
cool.
This was great, Danger. Like this truly was. This truly was great.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad it was fun. If you need to find me, look for Danger and I'll be there. Just danger at ngrok.com. Very easy to find. And down below in the footer, we've got our Slack channel that we launched a couple weeks ago. We've got our Twitter, LinkedIn. We are hiring. So if you're fascinated by everything we're doing and you think you want to tackle some of it, if you love developers like we do, come check it out. Happy to chat and get you plugged in.
All right. Well, I guess say bye, Danger. I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody. Say bye.
Bye, Danger.
Yeah.